You're watching TVC Breakfast. The Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Response Team has arrested one Afobaje Mayegun for allegedly beating up his wife. The coordinator of the agency, Titilola Vivo Adeniyi, stated that he was arrested after boasting on his Facebook account that he had just beating up his wife and that he is waiting for her police to come and arrest him. According to the agency, preliminary investigation conducted revealed that this is not the first time Mr. Mayegun would perpetrate such an act. Now, this is just one of many other such abuse cases that have been reported lately, supporting concerns that people are deciding to express their frustrations through violence. Joining me via Skype is Olatubosun Oshifora, a lawyer and social commentator. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning, my pleasure.
Now, this is not the only case that has been mentioned, like we have rightly pointed out. And according to reports, there seems to be a rising case of domestic violence at this time, so much so that the UN Secretary General called for a ceasefire to all of this, seeming like we are in some sort of a war situation.
Well, it's unfortunate that domestic violence has been on the increase, and I've been following it. In fact, when this thing broke out in China, and they said that divorce rate went skyward and all that, people are beginning to realize that they can't live together. And instead of taking an amicable settlement, they just decided to take to violence. And it's quite unfortunate, but that is not the way it's supposed to be. And something must be done to stem it. So, like the case we all heard yesterday or 2 days ago, the man who, apart from assaulting the wife, went ahead to put it on Facebook and started boasting about it. I think that's a case in point that should be used as an example. I think a lot of people are interested, and we will see how it goes.
But some will say that perhaps this situation has been on, not just as a result of COVID-19, but even before COVID-19, and perhaps that the laws that protect women are not stringent enough to deter people from carrying out such acts.
No, the laws are stringent. In fact, way back, it used to be limited to just what the Criminal Code and the Criminal Procedure Act just term as battery and assault. But sometime in 2015, in fact, as of 2013, the House of Rep came up with a bill, and in 2015, it actually became a law that the Violence Against Persons Prohibitions Act of 2015, where it codified battery and assault, particularly against women. In fact, the law is so well couched. I mean, they put it strictly for things like this. And though it hasn't changed, the punishment hasn't changed. But the punishment based on, if you look at section 19(1) of this same law that I just quoted now, it says that issues of battery and assault on spouses will attract 3 years imprisonment or 200,000 naira fine, and in some cases both. So I think that that's enough to send the message home. And I mean, you don't want to just, people are used to beating their spouses and walking away from it. But if you know you're going to prison for 3 years, no income, no freedom, I think that's enough deterrent for people to. Maybe people are not aware of the law, but that is the law. That's the extant law, and it's been used, and people have been convicted based on it.
But some would say that some others might take the option of the 200,000 naira fine, which might not be a challenge for them, and still continue doing what they feel like doing.
Well, as it stands, the option is not for the accused person. The option is actually, it's at the discretion of the court. And I can tell you, I don't think any court, whoever the judge is, maybe female, maybe male, I don't think the judge is going to look at this extent of injury. This is a pretty lady, and then you damage her, and you think you're just going to work for. I'm not going to give you. I don't think any judge will give you the 200,000 naira fine. And beyond that, in fact, if you look further in the law hasn't stopped at fine or punishment for the offender. The law went a step ahead to get protection against that kind of person, to the extent that they can actually define the confines with which that person would operate with you. So if a man assaults the wife, for example, he can be told that, okay, in the next couple of months or within this certain period, you can't go near maybe 1,000 meters, maybe as long as the court deems fit. So you can get protection against the person, and you could also get damages. That's beyond what the law says, that the court can look at aggravated damages and actually award against that person. So there will be imprisonment, then there will be damages even for the person. The fine is for the court. Damages is now for the person that has been assaulted. So, and that can take any form as the court deems proper.
All right, Olatubosun Oshifora, thank you so much for speaking with us. You're watching TVC Breakfast. The Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Response Team has arrested one Afobaje Mayegun for allegedly beating up his wife. The coordinator of the agency, Titilola Vivo Adeni, stated that he was arrested after boasting on his Facebook account that he had just beaten up his wife and that he's waiting for her police to come and arrest him. According to the agency, preliminary investigation conducted revealed that this is not the first time Mr. Mayegun would perpetrate such an act. This is just one of many other such abuse cases that have been reported lately, supporting concerns that people are deciding to express their frustrations through violence. Joining me via Skype is Olatubosun Oshifora, a lawyer and social commentator. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
My pleasure.
Now, one of the reasons here for causing this is said to be people expressing frustrations through violence. Talk to us what ways people can manage their frustrations such that they don't, it doesn't come down to violence.
I think it borders on upbringing. There are various ways to express your frustration, but definitely not through violence, because violence is not just an ordinary thing, it's a crime. And if you take to that route, then definitely you have to pay for it. So any reason can come up for which you can be frustrated. In the course of this pandemic, people have lost jobs. Some don't know how to react to it. But beating up your spouse or beating up the next person is definitely not the way out of it. Because if you have lost your job, you now go ahead and beat your spouse, and you are now faced with a criminal charge where you're liable to almost 3 years imprisonment, then I think that has only compounded your case further, and it hasn't helped. So you can take to reading the Bible, you can take to counseling, you can take to maybe working out and seeking advice from people on how to go about your life. Sometimes too, marriage can be a bit hard on some people, on a lot of us, but I think violence is never, ever the way out, because there will always be consequences and you will have to live by it, pay for it, and live by it.
Now, it is said that recognizing the signs of domestic violence is the first step to intervention. Talk to us what these signs are.
Well, I can say that let me pitch my tent majorly with the feminine folk, because they are, in most cases, 95% of the time, they are the victims. What I've seen, even from practice, is that most men who end up violent or violating their wives, for example, those signs have always been there whilst the couple were courting. But a lot of times, maybe love, maybe church, maybe some form of counseling will always want to make people patch up and think, okay, he will change in the long run. But 99% of the cases, I've never seen people change. But there are a few things to watch out for. Most times, when someone has lost a job, for example, that is not the time to come and start placing demands on. Even the meekest of all men can turn violent in that kind of situation. Where someone's ego has been bruised, where someone is going through financial difficulty, that's not the time you come and start putting pressure. Those things can actually bring out the demon in one. Those are extreme cases. But for the ordinary ones, the features you need to watch out for, the way somebody talks to you as a woman will determine how soon it will hit you. So those are the things one needs to watch out for. Don't get carried away by love or funny things or gift. You have to look at the man you're dealing with and possibly watch out for his temperament and know when to even duck. Sometimes you have to run away because I've seen women, I've seen cases where somebody was standing up to a man that, what can you do? Look at what your mates do and all that. Those are things that can actually provoke violence in a man. But that notwithstanding, it's not enough for you to go out and unleash your powers against any woman. I mean, proving your mettle as a man is never true beating up a woman. So that's a no-no for me.
All right. It is said that we all have a role in ending domestic violence. So what can we do as a society to perhaps bring an end to domestic violence?
Bring an end. That word is hard. But we can curb it to a large extent. One of the ways the courts are there, I mean, the government is there with the court, that's one way. Also awareness by religious outfits, by all religious outfits, by your station as well. Television also can bring awareness. But I think also parents should actually educate their kids to watch out for some things. There are some things you need to tell your kid. If you see a man act like this, don't go ahead. You know, I've seen people stand their ground and you know what will happen? I will marry this guy regardless. And at the end of the day, you'll be the one to suffer for it. So I think awareness is one way that the society, and also telling people the consequences. Like this man, the case in point that we're looking at, if he knew that someone will come for him, I think he won't go as far as putting up. It's bad enough you beat up your wife, then you now put it on Facebook and you're waiting for the police. Really? In a society that has laws and you know people in charge of the law, then that's so I think awareness also, teaching people, telling people how to manage their temperament, and also showing people the way out. That violence is never the way. Violence has its own consequences, which you will pay for and you will live by. So that's the way the society can actually come in. But I think teaching kids how to also behave. Because, I mean, for those who have male kids, you have to tell them, you have to be polite to a woman. You have to, you don't necessarily have to open the door for the person to go in, but you have to teach them that, okay, violence is never a way. Then also let's learn to speak. Let's learn to iron out our differences. That's the way to go about it.
Olatubosun Oshifora, thank you so much for speaking with us.